book. It was challenging, the first one.
Because he wanted to be in the place of love.
Somebody came up with the idea.
And he was 100% accurate in his prediction.
Selenium, iodine, or calcium, you don't have to know any of that stuff. All you have to be able to do is chew.
Welcome, everybody. I'm really grateful to be here. My name is Thomas Morton. We are going to blow the roof off this place. So hang on. There's a terrific change taking place on the planet. We were just in the panel. If you weren't here, we're speaking about it. Everybody's in agreement, and it's not just with the panel. It's with the entire community that's awakened spiritually, globally, and above. It's noted and important that I share with you from the center of my heart that this talk here is a desire to assist in the quantum leap or accelerate the actual change within us in the masses. Our whole focus with Lightspeed Learning is to assist us to get back to our natural super learning state, which, by the way, happens to open up the door to the universal mind and tap us into the never-ending possibilities of who you are. It's very, very wonderful. I see a few of our alumni in the room here with us, so we're going to possibly have some that we could share with us later. Lightspeed Learning is a new modality, a new way of teaching and helping a person get back to their natural state of learning. We are not the first in the world to ever bring forth this information. Matter of fact, it dates all the way back into Tibetan records. This ability to be able to bring information at super speeds was clearly recorded thousands of years ago, that the Tibetans and those in inner mastery were able to actually tap into this place and actually open up the doorway to this divine spot and actually enter and reside there. And this is really our natural learning state. We are, as children, in a super learning state. It's noted that an infant between the ages of 0 and 5 years old is absorbing information faster than all of our computers put together can deliver. I mean, the information is just uploading into the individual, and it's all going into permanent long-term memory. The child is adjusting to many different things, and we feel that it's our right to be able to stay in that place. What happens around the age of 5 or so is we begin to lose touch with it, and we're going to share about that in just a second. Lightspeed Learning is a whole life enhancement course, therefore affecting every area of your life. Obviously, if you can bring information in it at very fast speeds, it's going to affect your life, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about being able to live what we call in the zone, in an alpha state of consciousness, in a very, very calm state, being able to tap into the universal mind, walk in the dance of life, be without stress and obstruction. To be in a place of only living in the solution, never giving power to the problem, and actually, beyond that, being able to accomplish a state of mind where you're actually creating and manifesting the solution into your world prior to the problem showing up. This is a natural, what mankind calls phenomena, that takes place when one applies these universal laws in their life. The problem is that we have been taught to analyze, doubt, fear, question, and wonder about everything we're taught, and our analytical mind will usually talk us out of what we felt was true. So it's very important for us to identify that there are two different parts of our brain acting, the left and the right hemisphere. We also work with the Monroe Institute, which is very deeply involved with hemisphere synchronization of the brain. This is not the Monroe Institute. We are a separate company, although we understand and do utilize these specific teachings and techniques to help you go into a whole brain state. We are in the application of assisting you to reclaim something that you naturally had. You still have, actually. It's just been misplaced. To reclaim it is a little bit of a job for an adult. For a child, it's not hard at all. Our children's class lasts about 7 hours, and they have a movie. And it's very, very simple for them because they're there. at the time. They don't have to reclaim anything. We just need to show them how to apply it. Adults class is about 18 or 19 hours, and the first 10 are like sometimes for some a bit of a challenge, because we are going to challenge your belief system. We're going to take you to a place where you've been taught that you can only learn as fast as you can read. But obviously you know that's not true, because you're learning things on a daily basis faster than you could read. It's just that we've been taught that we need to read to learn, and that's inaccurate also, because all of us have experienced that we learn without reading. But we do have subconscious programming that tells us that we have to read to learn. And this is very important for us to understand, that reading is, in the way we're taught to read, nothing against reading, but reading the way we're taught to read is not in its highest order for us. Okay, so let me just kind of regroup and get back to it, because I've had a couple of people ask me about things that were spoken about on the panel as far as HDTV, the ability to be able to deliver subliminal messages through the TV. And all these things are absolutely accurately there for a reason. Yes, there is the ability to deliver tremendous amount of information without you knowing you've gotten it to your subconscious mind with HDTV. Much easier than the regular signal. We are, we have been, as a group of us, busting out subliminal activity since the late 80s. And we've done it through the music industry, we've done it in the visual industry. Matter of fact, the most recent one was Fox News. Had a flash of our Senator McCain right in a subliminal right before the news came on with his wife. And that is out on YouTube if you want to go see it. Everything we're busting out goes to YouTube, so the world gets it right away. It's a really great way to deliver information, nevertheless. The process of subliminals in being implanted into your subconscious mind isn't new. Everybody thought it went out with that old story about the movie and the popcorn flashing and the drink flashing, and yes, it did go to court, and yes, they did find that it was illegal to flash subliminals when they were using some type of a mark or a name for a company. But you can still flash a bag of popcorn, you can still flash something that looks like a Coca-Cola, as long as it doesn't say Coke or have their emblem on it, it's still legal. So that's also important. McDonald's actually got busted doing that just recently on the Food Network, where they, right after the Food Network, they were flashing their McDonald's, and that's also on YouTube. If you want to go look, just go out and type in subliminal advertising on YouTube, and you'll see about 1,000 different hits that come up, and a lot of them are ours, where we're helping people find this stuff. So, the subconscious mind's alive and well. It works very well, and it does a terrific job handling all your body functions, working through, doing a whole lot of things, and a lot of it's adjusting to gravity. Just because we're in a gravity experience, we don't think about that, but it's always adjusting to gravity. Well, for a long time, we've actually known that we can help program an individual to do terrific things. So we've helped in sports, we've helped in others in inner awareness. We've helped people go past their inner blocks, their emotional blocks, with subliminal and subconscious programming, or even subtle hypnotherapy. These type of things will assist an individual to be able to rise and surpass so-called obstacles that were holding them back from being able to evolve to where they believe they should be. The fact is that there's another camp that wanted to use it to be able to control the masses, to be able to get them to a point to where they're actually not a threat to the government. And that was implemented actually right after the Vietnam War, right in that area of the Vietnam War, and has been very active since then. During the class, we will show you patents and we'll show you a clear understanding of how that works. That's not our focus. Our focus is the solution, not the problem. Many of us get wrapped up in the problem. We get caught up in a fear-based consciousness, and our minds just run with it. And you are where your mind is. So if you are thinking about that type of thing, you are there. And as I've been talking so far today, I don't know how many of you have stayed on track and stayed on focus to actually everything I've just said Or how many of you have actually spun out and thought about different things? This is another problem that we have, and that's actually staying on track, actually absorbing information that's coming in. Because the mind will, what we call wander, or we call spinning out. We have tools in the class to assist you to stay dead on focus, so to speak, to actually be locked in, to be able to bring the information in at very, very, you have to actually, to be in the zone to actually bring this information in. But anyway, we focus on the now, because this happens in the now. So this is a program of bringing you back to the now. I don't mean the moment, I mean now. And you will experience the presence and who you are and what's happening in your mind if you're in the now. If you're not in the now, your thoughts and feelings have already taken you out of the now, because you are where your mind is. This is an inner mastery course. This is about mastering the inner planes to be able to sustain, not just learn, but sustain a key state of consciousness, an ascended state of consciousness, to actually assist you to feel into the more finer realms of the ethers, to know the actual solution for those around you and yourself, to better serve others. This is always the foundation point for any teaching, is to help the student become the teacher. And in many cases, the student is the teacher. So our minds are wide open to the information coming forward, because we know we don't have it all. We know that we have it all. So it's really about a collective consciousness. When the children are growing up from 0 to 5 years old, from 0 to 1.5 years old, the child is developing the right brain first, all the way up to 2 years old or so. The right brain is permanent long-term memory. It's the part of the brain that is connected to the universal mind. It's the part of the brain that's the creative part. It's the part that is the infinite part, that's tapped into the infinite. Then, around 2.5, 3 years old, the physical part of the left brain is coming online within the actual skull, and the child is actually beginning to utilize that part of the brain. The left part is for sequential processing, for actually analyzing, for breaking down things, to figuring out what little objects are, to where they go, to different things in the physical plane. We're in a third-dimensional reality. We call it the plane of manifest. In quantum physics, we actually talk about the actual states of energy and how they interact in these different planes in the class. But here, because of our lack of time, it's just important to help us, to try to just bridge to you an understanding that in this physical plane, we are experiencing what's known as the atomic structure within the planet. This atomic structure is the building blocks, the atoms, and all the other energies acting, the building blocks within what you see, taste, smell, hear, and sense with your senses, and then other senses too, but maybe you're experiencing things from other planes, fourth and fifth dimension. Well, right now we're just talking about third dimension. Okay, so we train ourselves to our natural learning state. I'm going to talk about that in just a second, and we manifest our own reality. So once we're in this state, we're able to actually manifest whatever we need to bring in. But the more the student knows, the more that's required. So there's more of an inner discipline to actually apply this information and this universal law in the correct manner, instead of making the same type of mistakes we've made civilization after civilization that have fallen, like Atlantis, Mu, Lemuria, were because of the misuse of these types of energies. So it's very, very important that we take hold and understand we don't want to make the same mistake again. Utilize this information for the betterment of the all that is, and stay in that place. Never entering into self-centered, type of motivative thoughts, but always in selfless service to others. Okay? A couple key things. If you do not do that and do not sustain that state, the door will be shut at a certain point, and you will not enter into the universal mind. Because our Creator has a fail-safe type of activity up that will not allow an individual in individualized consciousness to enter into a unity consciousness zone. You have to be in unity consciousness to enter into unity consciousness. You have to be in an infinite state of mind to enter into the infinite. You cannot take finite into infinite. Now let me explain to you how that works. The left brain is the analytical part of the brain. It's the part that works with finite. And finite law says everything that had a beginning will have an end. So everything that's finite had a beginning. And it says if it had a beginning, it'll have an end. In infinite law, it never had a beginning. And infinite law says anything that never had a beginning will never have an end. This infinite part of us, this channel to the universal mind, this part that we are infinite beings. We are beings that are eternal beings. We never have had a beginning. The finite mind can't get wrapped around it. Finite cannot understand infinite. Don't try. Many have tried before you. It can't happen. It's impossible. Absolutely impossible. But infinite can surround finite. So it's important for us to understand that we are taught to learn with our left brain analytical finite mind. When we go to school, we're taught to learn by reading. We don't know it, and I'm not down at all about the school or teachers or anybody like that, because we love them all. We've got a lot of friends that aren't. They were taught the same way we were, how to learn and how to teach how to learn. And that's by reading. Nothing against reading. But the way we're taught how to read could be changed. It would benefit us all. What happens when we're taught how to read is we're taught to subvocalize. And to give you a little example, the children are out in the classroom, and the teacher writes on the blackboard, Jack and Joe went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. It's okay, students, let's all read this out loud. And we all say, Jack and Joe went up the hill to fetch a pail of water together. And then the teacher erases the blackboard, says to the students, okay, students, now open your books, shut your mouths, and read. And on the sentence, we read, Jack and Joe went up the hill to fetch a pail of water, and we hear it in our head. And that's subvocalizing. In order to speak any language, whether you speak it out here or you speak it in here, you have to utilize your left brain. So by subvocalizing alone, we force the student into the left brain. The student was wide open, intuitive, pulling from universal mind, bridging the information, and the student begins to store data there also, which, by the way, we'll show you here, has the left brain only has about 2 days, maybe 3 times, of actually being able to store information. And then it's constantly dumping information to make room for more. Right brain never has that problem. Right brain is, like I shared earlier, has this infinite hard drive. So we were in a whole brain state at the age of 5 years old, and we were in a super learning state, just ready to take on the world. We begin to read, and what takes place at that point is we actually begin to turn downward for the rest of our lives. And later on in life, it shows up like we really can't remember too much, because we've actually collapsing the left part of our brain because of an overload. It's the wrong use of a certain part of us, and then the wrong use long enough creates a collapse. But a lot of schools like Waldorf and other private schools have actually gone past this, where they don't teach this type of subvocalization. They hold the student in the creative state. They keep them in right brain, and they keep them there long enough to help them get past the hump, so to speak. The hump is between 8 and 15 years old. Around the age of 15, over 90% of the students globally enter into left brain prominent learning, but they're also entering into an actual beta brainwave state entirely. Now let me share with you how that works. Up at the top, we've got beta, then we've got alpha, then we got theta, then we got delta. These are 4 brainwave states. The beta state is the most dysfunctional, disorganized, disorderly state of consciousness known to mankind. It's where all hatred resides, division, lust, greed, all the lower types of thought form reside in beta. It's a very fast frequency, and its cycles per second are around 14 to 20, 21. And this is the speed that beta is. Now alpha is from like 7 to 14, 13 or 14. And alpha itself is a very, very calm state. There's no negative thoughts, there's no negative feelings. It does not happen there. In any meditation, you're taught to go to alpha, to relax, to learn how to breathe, to bring yourself down into this state. At that point, you actually enter into a more heightened, sensitive state. Anybody that's meditated can tell you that. The fact is that we have been for decades, most of us adults, living in a beta brainwave state, and it's a collective consciousness. There's billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of people in that state of consciousness. So, since it's collective, and it's very strong, it has a subtle attraction to it, we become entrained. What that means is we enter into a place where we're actually subconsciously programmed to be there, and we have really no choice. We just go there because that's home. That's where we think. But proven by science for the last 30 years to be the most dysfunctional place we can go, we still teach our students to go there. Because our whole process globally of the rote system of learning, which is reading, compels a student to go into that state, and it's a slow process between 7 and 14 years old, where the student actually enters into that beta state and is locked up in there, and then around the age of 15 we introduce the philosophy of cramming for a test. Because there's no chance the student is going to be able to retain any information longer than a couple days now. We know we're going to have to teach them how to cram for the test right up to time to take the test, and realistically, they're going to fail if they don't. So, but the fact is that after about 2 days of cramming, national educational statistics tell us that they are still going to lose 95% of what they learned. Okay, reading happens around 250 words a minute. This is National Educational Association statistics on reading at the top line. Comprehension is 50%. That means that the first time you read one page, you've forgotten half of it. Retention is 90% the next 48 hours. What that means is that you are going to actually be dumping information so rapidly that you'll end up 2 days later with 5% of the data that you had 2 days prior. That's the way we teach globally. I'll just say that again. That's the way we teach globally, so you kind of get it. Okay, speed reading, we've learned that the faster we go, the better we do. So speed reading starts around 1,000 words a minute and up. And the faster we go, the better we do. The comprehension goes up to 60 to 70%. It's good for about 1, 2, 3 weeks or so. Then the actual retention does drop off dramatically, but not as bad as reading in any case. Okay, then we have light speed photography or quantum photography. Starts at 25,000 words a minute, which is subliminal. It's faster than the eyes can see. That's what subliminal means. It's going into the right brain, permanent part of your memory at that point. And we actually hit speeds of like 1.3 million words a minute at the last day of the class. That's a little over 60 pages a second that will flash in front of you, and you'll get the data. You'll take a 50-question true, false, multiple choice, and essay test, and you'll get a good grade. The faster we go, the better it is. The reason it starts here is because this is changing. We're up around 81% now for overall comprehension and 100% retention for life. That's what's important. It's there for life. So during the class, you'll learn how to pick up a book and bring the information in, turning a page, which is taking with your photographic memory a picture of 2 pages a second. So that's where we start. So you'll be turning the page, and the information will be going right into permanent long-term memory. We'll teach you how to retrieve that information. It doesn't feel like you learned it the way you've been used to learning something, because you are not learning it that way. You are learning it in a different way. And in order for you to learn how that is, you'll have to take the class. We're not going to tell you here. But the fact is that it's completely different. The retrieval process is completely different, and that's proprietary also. The actual activity in itself is so unique. You know, I've been an instructor in this field for about 19 years, and my whole feeling on it is that we're the tip of the iceberg. This is going to go so fast, so quick for humanity to be able to evolve this way, because literally right now on the internet we have the ability to upload an entire library of information to you, like the Library of Science, in about an hour. So, you know, at those speeds. So, you know, if we're talking about being able to bring information in very quickly, and that's on the internet. And as soon as we get faster and faster, great. That's a good way we could use, actually, HDTV, the wide bandwidth, to deliver information. It might be something that we can do in the future to utilize that in a very positive way. What people are afraid of is getting information that they don't want, information that they don't want in there, okay? And that's a good thing to understand. There's a couple things that's very unique about the subconscious mind. One is that it'll do exactly what you tell it to do, if you tell it to do it. If you don't tell it to do it, it won't do it. So it's important in any type of programming of the subconscious mind. We'll teach you how to do that in the class, of how to actually achieve a state where you're able to program your subconscious mind to do anything. That includes turning the switch off and not being subject to anything that you don't want, anything that isn't in your highest interest, anything that doesn't serve you or others. So these key types of commands can be put in. You can do that today if you want to. Then why not? Fact is that we're not in a place of trying to hoard or say, in one case, many individuals have fallen into the world of believing something is theirs, as in the legal world of believing something is theirs. Our plan is to give this to the world within a year and a half, and we will do it. We're already in the process of doing it. We have a company called Sacred Trips, and we have friends all over the world with servers up and ready. We're ready to deliver this information in multiple languages, and we're building as you speak. All of our computer programs and everything we're building are modules that fit into the internet to actually assist mankind to enter into this very quickly. Okay, let's talk about value. The value itself is beyond what we can even explain in words, because what happens when an individual begins to actually open up this doorway and use it on a regular basis and actually change the way that they think back to the way they were designed to, is that there's this one little thing that also happens. They have a spiritual awakening. Because you cannot enter into this state of mind and not experience the unity, infinite part of you. And that catapults a spiritual awakening in the individual, whether they're someone that's completely closed-minded to anything spiritual or not. It just doesn't matter. They're going to have it. I've had people call me up yelling at me, going, "What'd you do to me? You changed my life. You know, I can't lie to people anymore." I mean, it's honestly, it's okay. I just smile on the phone, you know. But you know, say, you know, I don't tell them I'm sorry. I tell them they signed up. Light-speed learning has 100 times the impact of reading.
They give it to the politicians.
Anybody, because it taps you into that universal understanding and that oneness. So another thing is intention. If an individual, for instance, in this room, because I'm a super sensitive, I can feel every single person in this room. If an individual in this room has intention to debase or actually undo or utilize anything for their own selfish needs, the door will shut on them. They won't go more than 10 steps out of the room, and it won't work. This is the way this is. It's got a hidden, I mean, no, it's not hidden. It's got a fail-safe to it. That when we apply it for selfish needs, it shuts down on us. But when we give it out, it opens up. So we're in that process, because that works a lot better, and it holds us free from any karmic experience that's undesirable. We do talk about quantum physics, the law of attraction, the infinite possibilities, the application of universal law. Because once we're in this place, and once we've opened up the door, you're right there. You're right in the center of creation. You're right in a place where it happens. So anything that could be so-called disinformation, being able, someone, let's say, on the other end of it, communicate, whether it be HDTV or a movie or whatever you're watching, has the intention to debase. Debasing means taking you off track, or to disinformation, to get you a little confused, to get you off track, to take you off your center, basically. That's one of the first rules of our so-called intelligence community, is to get you confused. Because if you're confused, you don't know. And if you don't know, you got nowhere to stand. That's the first thing they do. But let's say that you're tapped in. It has absolutely no effect on you, period. Zero effect. Because you are tapped into the universal mind, and you are right back where you're supposed to be. And all of this stuff is recognized as coming through and flows right out. Because you're in a place of observing, not interacting. It's also important for the student to understand that there's no graduation. We never graduate. We're always on this path. We're always helping more. We're loving more. We're loving more. When we ascend, we'll just learn how to love better. So it's just a process. We all want a quick fix here in the USA. Sorry, there isn't one. You've entrained yourself for decades into the wrong part of your brain, unknowingly. Nevertheless, you've done it. And we need to help you know how to get out, but you got to do it. So you truly need to understand that there's about 30 to 45 minutes worth of drills to do every single day for the next 90 to 120 days to help you punch through to the other side. Without doing these drills, you will, most often, all of you, revert back to your old way of learning because it's a habit. The habit hasn't been broken yet. And I don't know anybody, a lot of people say, well, the habits you take 21 days to break. This one is a little different because there's a collective consciousness that you are actually entrained in. It's not just the habit you're breaking, so there's a lot more to it. We'll get into the actual nitty-gritty of how that all takes place. It's 18 hours of instruction. So, it's not any lightweight class, okay? At the same time, we try to keep it affordable. It's $499 here at the show, so it's about half of what anybody else out there in the world is trying to do along these lines, which isn't anything like what we teach, because we teach a different modality. We teach it in a different way. So, anyway, we're talking about the universal mind once we're there. And once we're there, it's an infinite activity, and it's been called a lot of different things. And you can read this. But what really is here is all these names refer to something that a person can connect to in order to receive information that cannot be reached in any known way. So one of the things we're trying to share with you is that in our heart of hearts, what we want to share is that it's important for us all to recognize that we are entering into our divinity, into a divine place, and it has divine law. And those laws are very, very, very clearly cut, and they're beautiful because they hold us in that place if we apply them. If we do not, we slip back out. So there's also in the class that discourse of teaching to bring you forward into an understanding of how to sustain the application within the application, to actually sustain that state of consciousness. You keep your brain learning from birth to the end of life. The fact is that this is the only thing we've ever found that we know new dendrites are growing when you're doing this. So we've actually scientifically shown and proven that you're actually growing new dendrites when you do this activity, which is very interesting. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring you into a classroom if you choose to take the class. And if you could kind of picture a pair of headsets in front of every single person. And then a big screen up in front like this, a little bigger. And you're going to actually enter into a multimedia experience for a little while, and we're going to assist you to be able to understand deeper things and connect the dots for you so that you can kind of get a build on the energy body that you are, that you thought was physical. At that point, we'll take you to a new level of understanding of how information flows. I want to kind of go back to the child that's 5 years old and glides out ready for the world, and then begins to learn how to read and begins to entrain themselves into the left brain. When you read, how many of you read something like you'll stop and read the same thing over again? Okay, that's great. I'm glad everybody's there, because that tells me we still got a problem. What it is that we are in a belief system that the slower we go, the better we get it. And it is not true. It's factually proven the faster we go, the more we retain. It's a fact. But we are taught that we have to reread it to get it. What does get it mean? Let's just for a second reflect on what it feels like to ride a bicycle. Your memory of riding a bicycle. Because that old saying, you never forget how to ride a bike. So everybody knows how to ride a bike. Think about that for just a second for yourself, because I'm going to share something with you. So where you just went to think about how you ride a bicycle is the same place we send this data. It's to that permanent long-term memory part of the brain. So it's very, very interesting to know that if I could ask just anybody to tell me one lesson that they learned in science class in 10th or 11th grade high school. One lesson? Science class? Okay, there's one person. Do you have a lesson? Can you remember a lesson that was in science class in 10th or 11th and 12th grade? Great. You're still tapped in probably, but probably everybody else is searching, trying to remember a lesson right now. Because we were taught with the left part of our brain. So just sharing with you, if you think about driving a car, those of you that drive, just for a second, think about what it feels like. Now revert back to when you were being taught, how you had to be, think about every pedal you're pushing, how you're turning, watching the street and everything, but now you're just like an autopilot, the car kind of drives itself home. It doesn't. Your subconscious mind drives the car home, and you're able to do other things, multitask. So, understanding this is the part of the brain we work with. This is the part of the brain we were designed to be in. And this is, our software, which is patented, which is absolutely cutting edge, will help you actually be able to understand that there is no limitation. Because when we hit 60 pages a second, that entire book uploads in 4.5 seconds into your subconscious mind. And you'll get a good grade. Go ahead back there.
You talked a lot about using your visual capabilities. How do you incorporate audio? Because now it seems more and more popular to listen to podcasts, listen to audiobooks, but I can imagine you still have that same concept of the subliminal type of learning versus the light speed. So how do you incorporate that?
Well, there's what's called resonance learning. Resonance learning is actually more in the realm of the magnetic wave, the electromagnetic wave. You got to understand what audio is. Audio is an expression of the electromagnetic wave. You pump electricity to a magnet behind a speaker and you get sound, right? So what it is you're experiencing is the electromagnetic wave in a different dimensional expression. So in the delivery of electromagnetics and the information in that realm, yes, it can be done. It's a whole different type of activity that's been dealt with and worked with. And people have tried to run it up and fast forward, for instance, where you get something really, really quickly, which does have an effect. But it isn't like the visual experience. Matter of fact, the visual experience is so unique that all of our books, we start them backwards and upside down. This part of the brain doesn't require the book to be right side up. Matter of fact, I don't even know how many of you know this, but you're actually not seeing any of this right side up. It's all upside down. Your mind's doing the switch for you back here. But nevertheless, it's not the reason we do it. We do it because there's no limitation. So there's no limitation with the audio piece either, but it's really resonance. Because the entire planet is magnetic, and you're a magnetic being, there's a way to work with telepathy through that experience, and that's one of the things that we're working on, and many others are. But you're right on track. But it's a different realm. Any other questions? Go ahead.
Is this at all, and has it been used with kids with ADD or ADHD?
Oh, absolutely. It bypasses all those, because they're all left brain problems. They don't have any problem at all doing this.
So it's a real benefit for them.
Sure. Now, a child that is deep into what we call ADD or ADHD or ADDDDHDDD, whatever it is today, the fact is that the children are switching around a lot, aren't they? It's a focus problem, usually. And one of the things we suggest is take a look at the child what they're doing, because it's a good chance they're watching TV at night and they're bouncing around with commercials. Because commercials have been proven to be one of the most dysfunctional thing we can do to a child. If you have children, please do not ask them or let them watch TV. If you even let them, at least 2 to 3 hours prior to going to sleep. Because we take that into the sleep state with us. Sorry if there's any kids in the room, but it's not good for you. The best thing for you is to actually be free from that. So there's a lot of causal things that happen to create it, but even after it's created, we send the information to the right brain, so it doesn't even go. The left brain has nothing to do with it. So, question? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm interested to know if this is usable for language learning. I find that that's the most problematic thing on the earth right now, is that we don't know how to talk to each other.
Yeah, Babylon. Right. Yeah. Yes, it is, and it has been for a long time. And by photographing information, you'll use a dual dictionary, 2 languages, and bring both languages in, the language of your choice, the one you're used to, and the language you're learning. You'll have an understanding of what the language means in the reading realm. So if you're reading a newspaper or that type of thing, you'll be able to bridge the information. But as far as speaking, it requires different motor functions of the brain, and it requires left brain activity. So that does require still a process above and beyond what we teach, to be clear. Next question. Go ahead. Go ahead.
If you have limited vision and you're trying to do a photographic snapshot of something, will you be impaired in this learning, in your learning ability?
We have not found anybody yet. We've had people 6/10, 7/10 blind in the class that have achieved just like the people next to them. You only need a little bit of light. Matter of fact, you can be in a real dark room, like maybe watching a screen in front of you or something, and as long as the book's within your peripheral vision, you'll be bringing it in. Next question. Go ahead.
I don't completely understand with the light speed photography, how much of information can you actually recall, and let's say a book, can you actually remember the content of the book?
Yeah, once again, the type of memory, there's a couple types to bridge it back to the conscious mind, which would be the left brain part, where we're used to learning in that way, okay? So we would have an awareness like we're used to it there. But truly, the best way to utilize this is through right brain delivery. And that particular technique takes a long time to explain, but it doesn't feel, act, taste, smell, or look like anything you've ever experienced. It's an entire new way. But it is a lot like your intuitive knowing. So if you've got an intuitive knowing, you would be kind of in the same realm.
Is there a way to kind of prove it?
Oh yeah, we have 50 question true false multiple choice and essay questions right after each book we do. So you'll see yourself actually progressing within the class itself. So you'll see the information coming in. Books that came in at speeds beyond your vision you could read. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
How long it takes the course? Is it a year?
2.5 days. So it's here at the hotel in 2 weeks, and it starts on a Friday. It ends on a Sunday. It starts from 6 p.m. to 9:30 on Friday, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Saturday, and 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Sunday. But that's where it starts, okay? So we're going to share with you. We're going to give you the whole ball of wax. We're going to lay it all out for you. You're going to be doing it. You'll test yourself, see it working. But it's up to you to change your way of thinking after that. Otherwise, you very well may revert back to your old way of learning. So you definitely are suggested to do these drills on a regular basis, daily. And they're about 30 minutes. They're only about 5 minutes long, 10 minutes long, but they do need to be done to keep the pathway open. Okay, go ahead.
Are you teaching any techniques in that class to ferret out subliminal programming and some of your stuff?
Yes, we do have part of the class which clears out all subliminal programming and actually gives you the ability to turn the switch off or on filter. So whatever you choose to do. If you want to be filtered every time and know when every one of them's coming in, you can do that, or turn the switch off completely. We are out of time, everybody. We're in room 207, booth 207, down in the crystal room, right at the very far end. Love it. Thanks for coming. Stay high.